And here we are, once again, live from the Crystal Clearpoint Studios. It is Miles of Smiles Entertainment, and we are sponsoring a new podcast. If some of you guys remember, during COVID, we had a group called The Spiritual Neighborhood, and we were interviewing people, and we're kind of continuing that on with a little bit of a twist. It is happy hour in the spiritual neighborhood.
Cheers. Cheers to everybody.
Cheers. So we all have our drink. There's no telling what will happen. And so we have Lou Ann Morris, we have Dr. Matthew Pierce, and we have Laura Flowers. Laura, do you have a title or something that I need to acknowledge?
No, no, just hey you is fine.
Hey, you. Hey, that's a good song, Pink Floyd. Hey, you. And I'm Deborah Colleen Rose. So I would like to turn it over to Dr. Matthew Pierce. And would you kind of introduce our guest and take it away?
Absolutely. Okay, well, so Laura and I met at let's see, it was the Houston Psychic Fair first, and we just hit it off because Laura has this just effervescent personality. And she is one of those no nonsense people. She's not one of those people that walks around with her head in the clouds, so to speak. She is just, she's no nonsense. She tells it like it is. And she is there to help people. And when she's doing readings for people, it is like, I mean, you can tell that her heart's in it. It's not that she's just there to sit around and just talk to people. I mean, she really likes to help. She does a variety of things, but intuitively, she just taps in and she's wonderful. She's an amazing teacher. She has in the past been like posting to TikTok, and I'm sure there's some things that happen there, but hopefully she'll get back to it because her channel is amazing. It's just kind of no nonsense, type of information for the spiritual neighborhood. Laura, how would you consider yourself? I mean, what would you say is your like style?
Well, I do in this profession what I do in life, and so it just it's natural. It translates over. Basically, I just like seeing where I can make something simple, present it easier, and bring it so that people are successful. Just keeping it simplified and doable and achievable is my thing. A lot of times we make it a lot worse than we have to.
Okay. I gotta make a statement and ask a question. So, do you agree? It seems to me that a lot of times when you're talking to people in the spiritual context, it's like, rituals are important. I understand that rituals play a part in everyone's life, including my own. But it's like they feel like they're so regimented about the rituals, and that it just won't work if you don't have the right sage, and it just won't work if you don't start out with your right foot opposed to your. I mean, don't you think that they get so hung up on that they forget what they're really doing?
Yes, because your magic in you that you're spitting out every day and that you're working with people, it's with you whether you're doing a reading, whether you're talking to a patient, whether you're talking to the next door neighbor, whether you're talking to your sister. You are connecting and using that intuitive ability, and you don't have to have a ritual to kick in to talk to your sister intuitively. You can connect.
I knew
We're
I loved you.
we're able to connect. I love what Bashar says about rituals. Those are permission slips. There's nothing wrong with giving your mind a permission slip that allows you to be more confident because the biggest person you're going to fight is yourself.
Right.
So you give yourself that permission, it makes you feel more confident, do it, but it's not required.
I love that you said that because I get some pushback. I'm not a big ritual person in the context of doing supernatural. Okay. And I actually had a client one time going, "That's it? That's all you're doing?" And I'm like, "Do you feel better?" Yeah. Does the
Yeah.
energy in the house feel better? Yeah. Then what do you want me to do?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm kind of there when Laura's setting up for Houston or Dallas, and she's always going through this like, well, what am I going to put out today? What am I going to use? Am I
Yeah.
going to use this deck, or am I going to use this deck, or am I going to use my runes? And she's like, you know what? Whatever comes up, comes up. You know, she is amazing because she has a basket on her table. Okay, and inside of this basket is like just all kinds of cards.
Oh.
And so when you talk about like ritual and things like that, she doesn't have one. It's just like, okay, well, oh, you know what? I feel like I'm going to use this one today. Or, you know what? I've seen her stop in the middle of a reading and go, you know what? These are not the cards.
I do that.
These aren't your
Yeah.
cards. And
Yeah.
so I love that about that. So yeah, I mean,
I
rituals. Go ahead.
I do have some tiny rituals. But these rituals support me in life. They don't support me in connecting. They support me in making sure that I'm going down the right neural pathway in my brain.
Mhm.
And so the first thing I do when I open my beautiful eyes and I have a little bit of consciousness is I think and say out loud, I cannot wait for you to show me how good it's going to be today.
Oh,
How good is it going to be? Because I have to start that. And then I'm not allowed to TikTok, Instagram, text, work, email for at least an hour because my brain cannot be going into worry mode. I'm already easy to get stressed out. So I do not need to go there. I need to set the tone for the day. And that's how I set the tone. Then I go get a big glass of water. I breathe what I want in my life at that very moment. And I exhale it and say it into that water. And then I drink it down and imagine it circulating through me.
that's
I
cool.
love that.
So those are a couple of things, but it's to make sure that I don't go off into um, areas that I don't need to go off because I've got some big, strong neural pathways that take me straight to scrolling through work emails, to stressing, to trying to control and organize and fix and do this. So I have to start my day as I am a beautiful being. I am wonderful. I am creative. I am psychic. And I'm going to let that flow first.
Okay, now I
I
feel
love
kind
that.
of bad. I feel
Pardon?
bad because what I do is I drink my coffee and then I read Facebook for about 30 minutes and laugh at everybody. That's my ritual. I mean, compared to you, that's just real shallow.
It's not about being shallow. It's not about notice that it's about pathways in our brain. It's about mechanisms that we use, and it's just a pathway. It's not being shallow.
Well, people
I
do
do
make
have
me
my
laugh.
time where once I do this, this, and this, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, is my hour up? And then sometimes I'm like, oh, it's been 2 hours. It just depends. But I do have my scrolling time. I do because I get to see what other people are experiencing.
Right, right.
That, whether it's for show, not for show, whether it's someone hurting, not hurting, whether it's a thought for the day, I do my scrolling.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because one of the things that I noticed on your TikTok is that you're always telling people that it's like just be in the moment, just be there with what's going on inside of your life. It's like you don't have to figure this out. You and I think have the same thing, and we mentioned this on the last time. Is that phrase "fake it till you make it"? And to me that it drives me nuts because it kind of puts me in a mindset of like, well, then am I doing this wrong? Do I have to fake it because am I doing this wrong? What's your take on the whole fake it till you make it?
Faking something implies that it's fake.
Yep.
Hmm.
Faking something implies that it's not real. And so I use this all the time. I bet people are just sick of me saying it, but just because I plant a seed in the ground and I don't see that giant oak tree yet does not mean that I'm faking it and that there won't be an oak tree there later. Just because I draw out the plans for a house, but I don't see the house in front of me, does not mean that it won't appear later. I'm not faking anything. I am planting the seed. I'm making blueprints. And just because I can't see it in front of me doesn't mean that there's not magic going on underneath the ground and there won't be a giant oak tree there later. So you're not faking it. You're actually doing something. So do it, you know.
Exactly, exactly. And if you're faking it and you're getting results, then you really are doing what you're doing, right? You just don't have that confidence built in yet. So it's like realize you're not faking it, you just don't feel good yet, you know?
You know,
We're very attached to immediate outcomes. So, we want to see immediate results. We want to see, like when I go on a diet, I'm like 3 hours later going, have I lost weight yet? You know, this is so long, you know. But on the same token, I can go eat so much at Thanksgiving, then run over to the mirror and go, oh, I didn't gain a pound. That's wonderful. You know, that's we're conditioned to that immediate feedback to help inspire us. And, that's just the way our neural pathways work.
Luann, you
I
were going
mean,
to
what were you
say
going to say?
something. Luann was about to say something. What were you
so
going
I
to
said it takes a while to develop your confidence,
Hmm.
because so many times I get messages and I think, well, that doesn't make sense for this person. What? And you finally just have to say, look, here's what I'm hearing, seeing, whatever's happening. And if it makes sense to you, that's great, but here it is. It's
Yeah.
just like when I was reading the tea leaves. I said, oh, okay, I don't know if this means anything to you, but are you going to Ireland or do you have a connection with Ireland? She goes, well, I'm going to get married there. And I went,
That's a connection. Yeah.
so you just have to go ahead and say it because there are so many times that I didn't. And I kicked myself later because it was spot on,
Right.
Hmm.
So you have to develop that confidence to say what you're hearing or seeing.
And it's funny because I've learned a lot of phrases from Laura just from watching her TikTok videos, and it's like she has this phrase that it kind of like calls people on the carpet, so to speak. Okay,
Uh-oh.
it's like listen, Linda, you know, and whenever the listen, Linda comes up, it's kind of like me saying, now, Deborah, but it's a listen, Linda, and it's usually about like, where are you going with this? Why are you even thinking about this? Like, you need to kind of reframe this. I mean, where did you get that phrase from? And I mean, what's it specifically mean to you?
Okay, so it just started out, listen, Linda, listen, Mark, listen. I don't know, it just fell out of my mouth, like most things. Um, but listen, Linda, I'm telling you, if you're uncomfortable, not real Linda or out there. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just in general. If you're feeling uncomfortable with your intuition, I love that. That means you've got some flow and you're getting ready to start learning. So intuition does not make sense. It pops in. It's like, okay, that don't make no sense. Logically, I can't make that make sense. I'm uncomfortable to express that because my brain wants to analyze it. If you're feeling uncomfortable, fantastic. Intuition does feel uncomfortable. And what happens is you get these tiny little hits. And if you follow through of them and just kind of learn how to embrace that uncomfortable as being a tool and not a hindrance, then you'll get bigger hits. When the bigger hits come through, you'll have to keep on pushing that. Even now, sometimes I'm like, but here's what I do. I be careful that I never anymore. So if any of you out there are saying this sounds crazy, but um, I don't know if this makes sense, but um, I just say, okay, who's Bobby Joe? I'm
Yeah.
here, Bobby Joe. I'm teaching my mind confidence. I don't ask permission. I tell them, and if they don't resonate,
Mhm.
that's there. That's something
That's
they
on
need.
them.
But that is more of an advanced tool. That comes with time. First, you're supposed to be uncomfortable. You're supposed to say, "Oh." okay, should I say anything? And then you withhold it, or when you do, you preface it by, I haven't lost my mind, but I have
Yeah.
something to say.
Well, this is very similar conversation I've had over the years with different people because I will just say things and then I'll say it and I'm like, does that make any sense to you? And they'll go, yeah. And I'm like, good, because I have no idea what that means. It's not our job to interpret. It is our job to deliver information. And
Mhm.
but here's what's really interesting. Then the person will want to explain it to me. I'm like, no, don't explain it to me because I got more to say. And I don't want anything being filtered. Okay. So don't tell me any. So I do strictly cold reads when I meet this person. I'm like, don't tell me anything. I'm not going to ask you anything. We're just going to see what the message is. And then after that, if we need to expand on it, then we'll have a little bit of a discussion. But to me, I just want them to know I'm not playing off keywords. I'm not doing mentalism.
Mhm.
I'm not reading them because I'm trained in my other professions to read them through their body language and their verbal language and stuff like that. So so many times I hear people trying to interpret the information when they deliver it. Don't interpret it, just give it.
No,
Just
just
give
say
it.
it.
You don't know what it means. But when you said listen, Linda, there's a video out there of this little boy, and you can
Mhm.
tell he's mimicking his dad. He goes, listen, 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 Linda, listen, Linda, because he's trying to talk her out of being in trouble.
Yes, yes.
Well,
So,
I I do some of the same, I say, okay, here it is. You
Right,
know,
right. Now, Laura, on your website, you talk about the 5D. Now, I know what I think that means, and I'm sure everybody here has a meaning for that. I want you to tell people what you mean by that because they may or may not know. They might not have a clue.
so I do talk about how I was a muggle who accidentally fell into the 5D world, kind of like, oh, what is this? What's going on? Where am I? Kind of deal. And so for me, the 5D world is anything that pushes you beyond your current thinking and you're in a new space where you need to either grow or shut the door. One of the two. But the 5D world allows you to see different perspectives.
Why do you say shut the door? What do you mean by that? What and why?
So if you fall into the 5D world and you're terrified and you're not ready for it, and
Mhm.
concepts in the 5D world will shatter your current world, your current mental health, it's not time yet.
Right.
You can shut the door. It's all right. It's still going to be there. You still have access to it. You have choice. But that 5D world, some people just they shut the door. I shut the door. I was taught to shut the door, from as a child. So we're all taught to shut the door. You can do that to self-protect until you feel like you're ready. But if you have any interest or inkling and it's kind of like something that you've always wanted to do, it's time.
Mhm.
It's time.
When did you become really aware of what you were doing that was different?
The funny thing is that I really haven't done anything different than what I've been doing since the very beginning. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me
Yeah.
re-say it. So we walk around in our lives and we interact with people and we have gifts and we have talents and we have skills and they come through. Um, it's not really anything different except now I can let it flow more. I can open up and let it flow more. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, it
Uh,
gave me another question.
okay. I
So,
love questions.
when did you become aware that you were not average? That other people were not having these same experiences and ideas and experiences that you were? Because that's different for us. It's different for us, but we don't know it's different.
Well, first off, I feel like I am average because this is a human built-in capability and anybody can access it.
Right.
Anybody
Right.
can. But when my mother sat me down and discussed the evils and, and cautioned me about seeing things or about exploring that, then that's when I kind of shut it down.
Mm.
So as I progress through life, I see people handling things so easily, and I'm just blown away. I'm broken. I must be broken. That's my assumption. I'm broken. They seem to be able to handle energy different. Now, I didn't call it energy, but
Right.
why isn't not everybody tensed up when they walk in the room? Can't you feel the energy? And I just assumed everybody did. I just assumed everybody knew when people were fibbing. I assumed when people, I just assumed, and I couldn't understand how everybody looked like it's no big deal. And then one day it was brought to my attention that maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I can just feel it a little bit different. And hallelujah to learn that you're not broken. I mean, really, to
Hmm.
find out that you being able to sense something and be able to, it's just, it's not a weakness, it's a strength.
Right.
So
Right.
it was great to find out I wasn't broken.
And Laura, you and I have had conversations in because I mean, there was one statement that you made to me at one time that like, oh, there's other people. There's other people that do this. I wish I had that person in my life that could have taught me this, or that
Hmm.
person that could have taught me that. And you were having that experience just like, but I want to be certified and I want to have that, that piece of paper. And we had the conversation and it's like, well, but that's not really it, you know? And so now, I mean, I've heard you go from like, I need to learn so much more to people like inundating you with requests for you to be their mentor and for you to be their teacher and so on and so forth. So what was the difference that you think made that happen for you?
So number one, well, you explained it very well, is that we all have teachers, and so you don't have to have I
Yeah.
guess, a piece of paper. You don't have
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just, I just found that I'm more powerful when I'm me. If I'm trying to be somebody else and being told what this truth or that truth is, instead of going and exploring and finding out and embracing what's coming forward for me, I'm more powerful when I'm me. I'm more beneficial. I'm more helpful. So it's just easier just to be me, than to try to be what I envision. I, is the thing to be. When you start envisioning, then you limit on what you receive. So
But Linda,
just
I think, Linda, Laura, I think, here we
Listen
go,
back up.
Linda. Laura, I think that you are able to embrace someone's questions to kind of help them be more comfortable with themselves.
yes, yes, because a lot of people are questioning, a lot of people, oh gosh, some of the most gifted and talented people don't even know how gifted and talented they are
Yeah.
because of the way they envision it. Every day I see people using their intuition. Um, every day it just, I mean, and they just don't know how gifted it, but in their mind they think the definition is something else and they're not seeing how it flows through for them. So
I think we all have that innate ability to have our intuition and use it. It's just that not everyone embraces it.
right, right, I agree
I have,
it.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, some of us are great dancers because we've trained, we've have experience, and we love have a passion for dancing. Other people have two left feet. I have the capability to dance, but I may not dance like that person over there or dance like this person over here, but I can still dance.
Well, I have been surprised because, Miles of Smiles, Entertainment, which is the sponsor of this podcast, we do intuitive entertainment. All of us perform. But what we do is we're able to take our gifts and share them with people that we would not normally encounter is what happens. I like to say it's our ministry. That's what I call it. And I have been inundated lately with people that are they're so excited to get a reading. But I'm seeing in the reading that these people are equally gifted. They're just afraid to be wrong. And so one of the messages that I have been delivering over and over and over is you have the right to be wrong. Just say what you say. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm here to tell you that 9 times out of 10, it's not really wrong. It's just that your timing may have been off and the person wasn't ready to receive it. And that's not on you necessarily. So practice it, and it's like weightlifting. It gets better the more you do it. That's what I tell them.
Right. When you first walk in the gym, you're a little bit like uncomfortable till you
Yeah.
get your routine down. You learn what the weights are, and then you learn that the people around you aren't making fun of you, and you're actually, there to support you, and they're not judging, and everybody's on their own path. And then you're like, okay, I'm lifting weights. So I love that analogy.
I don't know why gyms don't have bars. I think more people would go. I would.
I
You
actually know a
are,
couple of
you
gyms
talk
that have
about.
bars, so I mean,
Well, of course
but I
you
don't
do.
go.
Well, I just remember a young lady that I talked with who told me that her family told her she was crazy. And then she started telling me things about my situation. And I said, that's absolutely correct. And she goes, well, you don't think I'm crazy? I said, no, dear, you are not. You have a gift. I said, the only thing these people object to is you say, God told me, and then whatever it was he told you. And I said, they're not ready to accept the fact that you can talk to him. They're not ready to accept that you have these gifts. So you need to say it in a different way than God told me to tell you. And I think she appreciated the fact that I told her she wasn't crazy.
I don't
We
see what's
all need to
wrong with
hear
being
we're not
Well,
crazy.
crazy.
What's wrong
yeah,
with
you're
being
not crazy.
crazy? Why is that such a bad word?
Well, I think it's true though. If I came to the average person and said, excuse me, but God told me to tell you that this is all going to work out and for you not to get upset by such and so, and they're going to go, okay, and back up because they're going to think I'm nuts.
But I mean, that happens. I mean, it really does because I've had moments and I've learned throughout the years that it's how you approach someone with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's ways of like not just blurting it out and say, "Hey, God wants me to tell you,"
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, hey, I just noticed that, kind of were unhappy or, maybe there was some sadness around you. And, I kind of had something come to me. Do you mind if I share it with you? You know, 9 times out of 10, people will either say, yeah, absolutely. Or, you know what? No, I'm not ready. And then you just have to be respectful at that point and you go, I got it. I totally get it. Not be offended by it or not be like, I failed, to get the message across. And I think that some people, and forgive me for saying this, are egotistical about their gifts.
Mm.
And so they want to make sure that they can prove like that they are talented, that they have the ability to do these things, and that's where I think a lot of people that are stepping into their intuitive gifts kind of get it wrong. And so, I mean, I'm very cautious when I'm talking to people. Laura can attest to this, with the people that she's seen me talk to, is just to encourage them. Find out what works for you. Are you going to get it right all the time? No, but the thing is, go ahead and put yourself out there because if you get it wrong, you can actually learn a lesson.
Well, I think
And,
it's like
and
anything else. You're not going to walk up to someone, especially a stranger. I've actually had strangers approach me. You're not going to walk up and grab them and hug them and kiss them. I mean, some people
No,
do, but,
no.
but most people don't. And I think it's the same way with messages. That is a spiritual connection, just like hugging is a physical connection. And if you're going to connect with someone, I think you have to have permission to do that first. So, yes, please ask me, or I'm not going to be more receptive. I'm not going to be very receptive of anything you say if you don't ask me first, just because I've already, it's tainted because you've crossed boundaries here. And they may be spot on. I'm not trying to take away from the quality of the message. I'm talking about the delivery of the message.
Right.
So,
Well, actuality, a good percentage of our intuition has nothing to do with anybody else but us.
exactly.
Right.
So it is for us to navigate through life. Just because I can sense that this person is having some pain doesn't mean I need to go, I can feel is your hip hurting? Confirm to what I'm feeling. I don't have to do that. It's
Mhm.
information for me so that when I walk down the hallway, I don't take off in a jog. It's information for me to compassionately and intuitively interact with people. I know, I'm just sorry, I can tell when people are full of crap. There's some things that come up. I can either feel it here or I actually see a color on their face. And depending on the color, will tell me if they're doing it like to withholding information because it's a professional correct thing to do, or if they're both face lying. So every lie I hear, I don't run and go, you know what, you're full of crap. I don't go to them and say I'm lying. That is for me. That's information for me to navigate. It's not really information to share unless somebody asks me. It's not mine to share.
Well, and see, you bring up another sidestep on this too. So I'm Christian. All right. So I've seen a lot of different varieties of this, just even in the Christian religion. And this has always annoyed me, even as a child. Someone in the congregation has a hip problem. Who is it? Who is it? Oh, okay. Yes, sister. Yes, sister. Well, let's pray for her. Well, if you knew someone had a friggin' hip problem, just pray for it. Why do we have to make it such a big old production drama thing? And I mean, and if you got 10 people or more in a group, how many of them that are, especially if they're all over 45, surely you're going to hit somebody that has a hip problem,
Yeah.
or got an ache and pain. I, that kind of crap just bugs me to no end, you know?
I had an occurrence.
So actually sensing that someone has pain, like sometimes I'll feel pain in my body when I'm next to somebody, and that gives me the insight to their pain. So if there's anybody out there that can do that, that's just a sign of the intuitive flow. That's just one of the things letting you know. Have you ever had that friend when you get a headache, they always get a headache?
Yeah.
Well, instead of going, oh my God, they're copying me, maybe they're intuitive and they're actually pulling in some information.
Well, misery loves company, Laura. So we all got to get a headache together.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this because I mean, we all have our professions, we all have the things that we kind of our specialty in. Laura, you're a nurse. I'm like a person that does advertising communication stuff. You know, Deborah is the private investigator, and Luann is like this just amazing woman that is biochemistry and herbal remedies and so on and so forth. Do you feel that like inside of your given profession, it also lends you some like a little bit of an additional edge when you're doing intuitive work?
No. I mean, let me explain that. I am around intuitive nurses 24/7. They just don't call it intuition and they just don't realize. So when that nurse that goes out there triages a patient, and there is nothing on paper that says, bring this patient back. There's nothing in the assessment that says this patient needs to come back right away. But something just drives this nurse, and they're just like, I don't know what it is. Something ain't right. And they bring them back on anyway, even though The logical information presented to them in the 3D world says this, they're following this. And so they bring the patient back, and lo and behold, turns out it's a good thing, you know. So there's so much intuition involved. I think we just don't see everybody using it. I so your hands, you know, I love doing cards because I will just sit there and let me just grab a deck. I will just sit there and shuffle. It's not so much about the cards, although the cards, whew, they're wackadoo how they can come out so right.
Oh
But
yeah.
shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. When I'm shuffling, I am not shuffling. I am allowing my body to do something so that I can go off into my space. I'm still here, but my body's got some stuff. Some people doodle. So that person who's thinking about things and doodling in the meeting is accessing their intuition.
Hmm.
I had a nurse manager that would sit there and twirl her hair, just
Hmm.
twirl her hair while she was deciding what the best option to do was. She's accessing. So I think I don't use it any more than anybody else. It's just I can recognize it for what it is.
I'm so glad that you said that because for years I did not understand that I was a good private investigator because of my gifts. And I finally realized that that made me better at my investigations. I'm not good at my intuition because I'm an investigator, which is what a lot of people assume. Oh, you're good at reading people, so that's because you're a trained investigator. Well, no one sat down and taught me how to read people, okay? But I used to go, all over the country and do surveillance. And, it's hard to follow someone when you know the city. When you don't know the city, it's even harder. And I was finding myself more and more often losing someone in surveillance. I'd pull over the side of the road, I'd get out and I'd pace around my vehicle. I would walk around it. And then all of a sudden I'd go, I know where they are. And I would get in my vehicle, and lo and behold, I would find them, not knowing anything about the city. And it took me years to figure out what the heck I was doing and why I was doing that.
Have you ever seen Men in Black?
Yes.
Where they have an impossible task, and he goes, "Let's go get some pie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I,
like,
I can go for that ritual.
Let's go get some pie."
Some pie.
So a lot of times, even when I'm training in like CPR or breathing techniques for the patient, I'll say, "Look, if you're having challenges and you're trying to, ventilate this patient and you can't, step back, take a breath, reset, and start back over."
That's smart. That's smart. You know, and intuition really does go hand in hand with common sense. It really does. They're not separate.
yes.
Yes, yes. But intuition doesn't follow really any path of logic, really. And so that's another way to distinguish it. I'm doing a clairvoyance class right now. And one of the things that we're talking about is for them to try to understand how clairvoyance or how it's coming through. And they all have an idea in their mind. But when you step back, and I'll have some of them going, "Oh, is that what that is?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's that simple. It's not. We're usually making it harder for ourselves than it has to be." Um, and then two, another thing is, look, one popped out. We got to look at it.
Oh, let's look. Let's see it. What is it? Da, da, da. Drum roll.
It's
The
your tea leaves.
Oracle's gift.
It's your tea leaves.
I love
So
it.
I do free readings on Facebook, like on cards, like I'll pull people a card or I'll do some runes. But what happens for me is, and this is not routinely that something that everybody experiences, pictures will move. The picture will highlight, will move, will do something. And it doesn't have to be a picture. It could be even like just looking at wood grain. Wood grain is
Mhm.
very very movable for me. As a matter of fact, I thought somebody was punking me the first time I saw it. But yeah, I was like, oh, who gave me this trick box? But in there are going to be some times where you start exploring where things are going to pop up and it's going to be like WTF, what just happened here? Um, but that is all part of how it can come in for you. And you never know how it's going to come in for you until it starts flowing.
Well, going back to your clairvoyance class, I don't want you to tell us your whole class where they're going to pay to get it, okay? But can you share like one idea or one point on clairvoyance that maybe people have a misconception about or something that you really stress?
That people have a misconception about. They think they have to see with their eyes open and have a vivid picture that says this is a clairvoyant picture. They don't realize the images that they're already seeing in their mind, or maybe colors, or
Mm.
maybe symbols, that is clairvoyance. Um, I had really a good friend that didn't. She says, "Oh, I don't see like you. I'm not clairvoyant. I just have a movie in my head." And I'm like,
Well,
"Sister, movies in your head, that's a big sign. And she was a practicing psychic, very clairvoyant, very spot on, but she didn't need to know what the name was to use it.
Right,
She used
right.
it, but
Exactly.
she had already graded herself against other people, thinking that she didn't have it.
well,
Yeah,
everybody's clairvoyance comes to them differently.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
it does.
For years, I refused to accept a name. And I had a really good friend who's passed in the past couple of years, and she and I had a nonprofit together. And she was very, very psychic and very spiritually gifted. And so I always said, she's the gifted one. I'm the intelligent one. That was our running joke. And she finally made me sit down and take a test, stupid test. And she asked me all these questions. And she goes, okay, you have this gift, you have this gift, you have this gift, you have this gift. I'm like, no, I don't. And she went through and defined them just like what you're doing and gave me examples. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that. Oh, yeah, I do that. And it was like she just kind of grabbed me by my shoulders and shook me to my teeth rattled to get me to accept the concept. Does that make sense?
Some people don't realize how magical they are because it's so normal. They don't realize how gifted they are because it's so easy for them. And so some people just don't even realize it until someone points it out,
Mm,
because all of your gifts are going to come in through your senses, and
mhm.
everybody uses their senses. We use our sense of smell, we use our sense of hearing, seeing, touching, tasting, having a feeling about it. In our gut, they call our gut the second brain because of all the neural network in there. It
Right.
is so complicated. So having a gut feeling or having, sensation, those are all senses. People use them every day, and so some people think that's just my imagination. That is the biggest thing, is that people worry that it's going to be imagination. So can I tell you about the first time I got my first
Yeah.
picture? So I someone told me that I could connect, and I thought, well, that's crazy. I can't
Yeah.
do that. But she encouraged me. She said, just I want you to try to connect. So I was like, I just worked out. I was like, I'm just gonna lay here on the couch and I'm just gonna say, okay, let's see what happens. Well, all of a sudden I saw a picture of someone, and it was somebody that I knew had passed. And they were standing there, and all of a sudden, they wrapped their arms around my sister. My
Oh,
sister's standing there looking at me, smiling, and this dead guy's got his arms around her, smiling. And immediately, I thought, okay, there's something to this. Oh shit, what's going to happen to my sister? Why is a dead guy on my sister? Is my sister going to die? Is what's going on? What's that? And I immediately started judging. So What it turns out is when I see pictures with my sister, it's just a simple word to communicate sister. That's all it is.
Right,
This
right.
guy was talking about his sister. But if he had showed me his sister, there's no way I would have
True.
known her. He had to show me my sister. Same thing, like if I'm going to see something with a father, I'll see my father. It's no good to show me the other person's father. It has to be personal to me. And so when it's personal, people think they're making it up because
No.
no, it's so personal. And I'm like, no, there's no handbook. So that's the most common thing is people don't realize it is very personal. It has to be, or you won't understand it. They're speaking a language just for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I,
That was
I have
well
a lot of
put.
times see pictures of people I know. And I was reading for a young lady who was around 15, and I saw the picture of my friend riding a horse, who is also young. And I said, "Oh, do you ride horses?" "Yes, I do." "Well, that's why I saw it."
Exactly. It had nothing to do with your friend.
No.
It's just communication.
It's funny because I think I told this story the last time we were doing the interview because it's about trusting spirit. It's about trusting what's coming through, even though it might sound completely and totally off and odd. You know, I had a mother and daughter that came to me for a reading, and they sat down, and of course, the mother is just like, no, I don't do this stuff. I don't believe in this stuff. There's nothing you're going to be able to tell me that I'm going to be able to, change my mind about this. And so she was adamant that she was just not going to like to, engage. The daughter was like, Mom, just keep an open mind, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I started getting this image of Mickey Mouse just
Mm,
skipping through flowers. And of course, in my head, I'm going,
Doesn't make
no,
sense.
there's no way I am going to say and put that out there because that's just way out there. But it kept on happening over and over and over again. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and trust it. And I put it out there, and I was like, so the vision that I'm getting is Mickey Mouse running through the flowers, in his garden. And both of them were just stunned. I looked over at the mother, and the mother had tears coming down her face. Something happened, something hit, and the daughter kind of like, Mom, show him, Mom, show him, show him, show him. And so she reaches in her purse and she pulls out a black and white photo and she slides it across the table at me. In the photo is her father and Walt Disney. Her father was the lead horticulturist at Walt Disney World, and it
wow.
was the one that created Mickey's garden. So you never know like what they're trying to get across to you. But I think that sometimes they'll give you a little surprise and like kind of make you go, wait a second, in order to get that factor across that this is a reality. This is something that is so key to the person that you're reading for that they can't deny it. So, I mean, it's a learning process, but you got to put it out there.
A lot of times you're given that confirmation so that you can
Mhm.
get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've had the same thing where I saw the lady and she turned into a cat, and then I heard a name, and I'm like, here's the deal. When I delivered that information to the woman, I said, she's turning into a cat, and I'm hearing this name, and she goes, absolutely not. That makes no sense to me. So I didn't worry about it. I kept on going through the reading, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Right before she passed, we made jokes because there was a cat in the nursing home and we called it her cat, and the cat's name was that. And so it just made her lit tune in a little bit more and listen up. Especially when you're like, okay, who's Bunny or who's this, and you can say the names of the person that's gone or the pet or the circumstance, that kind of deal. And so that's usually what I just do. I go, okay, who's this? And I let them tell me.
It's weird how messages come through to all of us. Um, and to me, my biggest stress point is I have the weirdest messages come through at parties. And, I have an intent at parties to just, be lighthearted, give good messages, be encouraging and uplifting, and then something weird will happen occasionally. And I had a guy show up and he was wearing a wedding dress and a veil. So I couldn't see his face, but I could see his beard. Okay. And at that time, I didn't know anybody personally that had a beard. And this couple, man and woman, sat down and he's going, here, 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 here. And I'm like, what the hell? Shut up, you know? And he starts singing Tears of a Clown, which has a very personal meaning for me out of my past. And this woman kept looking at me. She goes, you have something you want to say. I guess I don't have a good poker face. I'm like, no, I really don't. And she goes, say it, say it, say it. And she's like, and he's going, here, here, here. And at the same time, she's going, say it, say it, say it. And I'm like, okay, that's really odd. So I said, well, I just see a man, but he's weird. And I said, maybe I'm my blood sugar's dropped. And she goes, why is he weird? I said, he's wearing a wedding dress. And she busted out crying. And I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, please don't cry. It's a party. And she goes, tell me what he's saying. So I told her it was a very personal message. And it was her brother, and he died on her wedding day. And so we're all freaking out. Well, I'm not freaking out. I'm just like, I just want to be done with this, because it's just so exhausting at this point. Because she's crying, but she's happy. Her husband's crying, he's happy. And he's not, and her brother's not yelling in my ear anymore, thank God. So I'm just like, okay, go along, be peaceful. So I like to think I can control my gift, but sometimes it does control me. So that was my point of the story. Do you ever feel like you're out of control with what's going on?
I I can be startled, but I'm never out of control. I am all powerful. There ain't nothing that's going to scare me. I can be startled, and I have the power to say not now, or I have the power to say, okay, what's up? Or I have the power to say, don't come at me like that. You change your presentation and then we'll talk.
I wasn't scared, but he just
Oh,
wouldn't
I
shut
know you
up.
weren't.
He would not shut up.
Yeah, I know
But I
you
love you
weren't.
saying I love you saying that because there are so many people out there that like they step into their gifts
And they're
and all of a sudden
scared.
they're like, I don't want to disrespect spirit. I don't want to disrespect, and like they feel like they have to do it. And I found working, with people that it's like, no, no, they respect who you are. They respect your energy. So if you need to say, hey, y'all need to take 24 hours and just back off, back off. I know if I want to get a good night's sleep, I literally have to say out loud, okay, no traveling, no downloads, and no visitations.
Right. Right. You set those boundaries. But then too,
Mhm.
some people are also scared. Like for me, mine was very profound. What I experienced was very profound in the beginning. I equate it to someone shaking up a champagne bottle that I've been carrying
Ooh.
around for years, and I finally took the top off. And so the experiences gushed, and they were very large and profound. They scared me. I went and got a CAT scan. I
Oh,
literally
wow.
did,
Wow.
because I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Just making sure. So it's sometimes it can be too much to take in the beginning because it's, falling from the 3D, as a muggle into the 5D world, it can be overwhelming. It can. But
Did have a father that just came at me with so much anger that I was thrown all off. He just, instead of saying, back off, I was like, you need to calm down. Out loud. I said it out loud.
mhm,
The poor girl went, what? I went,
What?
I'm having a
Oh,
conversation
no,
with
not
your
you.
dad. It's okay.
right.
Yeah, I talk out loud a lot too and don't realize I'm talking out loud.
That's clairaudience, my dear.
What?
That is clairaudience. That's one of your signs. So for other people who do it out there, your senses, I have all sorts of signs for you of how magical you are. Clairaudience is when you talk things out loud. Even if you talking yourself in a circle, it's how you process things. You're talking out loud. If you argue with yourself, clairaudience. Clairaudience is receiving messages through through words, through hearing. And sometimes it can sound like the own voice in your head, or mine has gotten to the point to where now I hear it in different languages, accents, and all that other, but it could be different sounds. You could hear people having conversations. Um, Sometimes you hear crowds. There is a phenomenon that when you do fall asleep, that some people will hear crowds. It's a diagnosed phenomenon that that people have. But even beyond that, hearing that inner voice and talking to yourself, clairaudience. Moved by music, clairaudience. If
Okay.
music transports you,
Okay,
clairaudience.
that makes total sense for me then. And but here's what I do sometimes that gets me in trouble. Um, so I'll just be open about. I have an angel that goes with me everywhere, and he talks to me a lot, and he's hilarious. And but sometimes he pushes me too hard. And I'm at happy hour with my spiritual mentor one day, and I'm having an argument with my angel, and I start yelling at him out loud. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck you, Ignatius, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, Ignatius. I'm not doing that. And my Bible man is like, you need to stop that or we're going to have a fight. Because he thought I was saying that to him. And so I don't have a clear line of hearing of where it's still in my head or it's not coming out of my mouth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Makes sense.
sometimes I'll get things that fall out my mouth. And they're profound things, and I'm like, why did that fall out? And it's
Yeah.
not like I'm usually by myself, and it'll just blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, let me pay attention to that because there's no thought line to it. With clear audience, sometimes it can sound like the voice is right next to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It can even be, I'm sure everybody has experienced hearing someone calling their name.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody's experienced that, and then no one's calling your name.
And that's called clairaudient.
Yes, that's receiving your intuitive messages through the sense of hearing.
Yeah, and it never sounds like it's in my head. Just it's always in my right ear. It's
So
all
for some people, that's what I've recently found out, it's going to be in their right ear. Now, ear ringing is also clairaudience.
really.
Yes, and so you pay attention to which ear is ringing. Is it high pitched? Is it low pitched? And what are you thinking, feeling, and doing? That's
Oh
going to
wow.
give you insight into what your rings, because different rings can mean different things for everybody. So don't go out and Google what it means for a high pitched in the left ear, because when it doesn't align with you, then you're going to think, oh, I'm broken. No, you're not broken. You just have different manual. So for me, well, for one of my friends, ringing in one ear means ancestors are contacting, the other ear is spirit is contacting. For me personally, ringing my ear will tell me whether it's a go or no go. So when I get a ring in my left ear, that means hang on, slow your roll. Let's think through this a little bit more. And when I get a ring in my right ear, it's go for it.
Wow. I am so glad to get some confirmation on that. I thought I was getting old.
Oh,
I have a question, Laura. As a child, I remember just zoning out and being out the window somewhere. Is that a part of your gift? Are you talking to somebody when you do that?
so some of what I've experienced has resulted in my clairvoyancy. Everything around me is not my surrounding.
Mm.
But I know I'm sitting in the chair. I know I'm there, but what I'm seeing is a totally different. And usually it happens with colors or a whirlwind, and then I'm somewhere else.
No.
Um, What I do with that is it is always information. Everything is a message. So the first time I'm like, what, WTF, WTF. And even when I moved, what I was looking at tracked with me. And I just panicked. I was like, oh, no, no, no. But what you do is you just relax and you look. You look at the message. If there's noise, you listen to the message. You get all the fine details, the colors, the number of things, what came first, what came second, and that's all messages. So as a kid, I definitely can see that happening. I've
Mhm.
experienced that.
Well, Laura,
Wow.
I could just listen to you for hours, and I'm thinking maybe I need to come and make a session just to have you like help me define some things because you gave me information today for myself personally that I didn't have clarity on. That was very helpful. So, can you kind of close us out with like with just something profound and philosophical or
Yes. My mantra is curiosity and wonder. So as you're exploring, curiosity and wonder, you are observing without judgment. If you see something, don't judge it bad. Don't judge it good. Don't go, oh my God, that's this. No, 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 no. Observe without judgment and then adopt curiosity and wonder.
I love that.
And that is the biggest thing to help things to really to grow you and to open the flow. Curiosity and wonder, observe without judgment.
I like that much better than my normal one, which is odd and weird.
Love that.
That's much better. Thank you. So tell,
Seems like that.
well,
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Lorraine. Go, go.
Seems like that would help you be more open with clients or people who are asking you questions.
It
Absolutely.
helps you with your shadow. It
Yeah.
helps
Yeah.
everything about this is to help you navigate. It's to help you be a stronger person. Do I have time to tell you real quick?
Yes.
Story where I saw somebody getting pushed off a cliff into I don't know, like a vortex of some sort.
Whirlwind.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, he's just been murdered. He's just been murdered. Oh my God, oh my God. And I was just, what's up with that? And I heard a voice say, look again. And it popped back in. And I calmed down. I looked at the person. The person looked at me, smiled, and swan dived. They were moving from one level to the next level through this, and they were excited about it. It was something to be happy about. But my fear and worry and anxiety automatically prejudged it as something as bad.
Mhm.
And so it teaches you that, oh, you know what? I have a filter. I
Mhm.
have something going on here. I need to learn to absolutely just observe.
Yeah. Our filters can really screw us up, even in the spiritual realm. And that's one of the things that I like to teach anyone that will listen is that you cannot judge. And you can use symbols, like you're saying your sister, so that you can have a connection to that energy, but you cannot filter good and bad. It's the same premise that we do with the handwriting therapy. There's 350 personality traits, and none of them are negative because we have learned them as a point of survival. So it's the same premise on a spiritual level as well. And you have to separate yourself from that. So tell everybody who's watching this later on and who's watching it now how they can find you and get a hold of you.
Well, I have a website at lauraslightinsight.com. And then I'm also on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube. I'm at Laura's Light or Laura's Light Insight.
Cool. Cool. All
And
right.
listen, I have to say, I'm so excited. My TikTok got 120,000 views.
Wow. Good for
Well, it
you.
was 119, so I'm gonna put it up there. I'm gonna put it higher. So I was really excited about that. So, um, yeah, yeah, I'm excited about that.
We need to get on TikTok. All right. Actually, we're on TikTok. I just haven't learned to manipulate. But if we do it in less than an hour, which we're about to do, hopefully, I can put this up on TikTok. So quickly, Luann, tell them how to find you.
Luann at Ancient Herbal Apothecary or www.ancientherbalapothecary.com.
And you, Dr. Pierce.
You can get a hold of me at Connections Design Studios, and the same thing, Matthew at Connection Design Studios. And we're hopefully with a little bit more coaching from Laura, I'll get back onto TikTok. So
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I know I'm just excited because I had nothing and now I've got a little bit of something. So I'm not a guru at all.
Well, I am Deborah Colleen Rose with Miles of Smiles Entertainment and Events, and you can find me at deborahcolleenrose.com with a link to all of the other businesses, the investigations, coaching, everything. And we're doing the happy hour. Cheers in the
Cheers.
spiritual neighborhood.
Cheers.
And we're
cheers.
going to be doing this every Monday at 3 o'clock. So we hope you come back. This is our first episode, and it'll be up on YouTube soon. So goodbye, everybody. And thank you so much, Laura. This was such a great start for our
Thank
new
you for having
series.
me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you
Enjoyed
so
it too.
much.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye bye.